Hey there, guys. Welcome back to Texas Beer Reviews, and on this episode, we're going to do something a little different as well. We will be looking at another beer not from Texas. This is Drie Fonteinen's Oude Geuze. So this is a lambic style beer, more specifically a Geuze, which is a blend of 1, 2, and 3-year-old spontaneously fermented beers. Sometimes they've done them with older years, 4 years, for example. This one is 1, 2, and 3. There is a description on the bottle, but it is in Dutch, I believe. But that's just a little bit about the beer. Their brewery is located in Beersel, just right outside of Brussels, or on the outskirts of Brussels. And the way lambic is made is instead of most regular typical beers, I guess you pitch a brewer's yeast to ferment the beer, but they don't pitch yeast into it. They let wild yeast strains that are just out in the open air ferment their beer, and it gives it this very funky, very tart character to it that's very indigenous to where they are located. Jester King is going to start, or they have started doing that. They'll be releasing beers here pretty soon this year. They have their own version of this coming out later on. I think it's either going to be late fall or early winter. Just kind of depends on how it goes. But this is a very old style of beer, and it's a very interesting style. There's not a lot of breweries that can kind of do this. To be called, I guess, lambic or Geuze, it has to be brewed in a certain part of Belgium. But there are American breweries, some that try to do the style. But anyway, this beer is 6% alcohol by volume. There's no IBUs listed, and this bottle was bottled on October 31st, 2014, so it is almost 2 years old. And I'm going to be pouring this in what is called a lambic basket. They have these bottles, they typically rest on their sides to keep not only the liquid in contact with the cork, so the cork doesn't dry out, but to also have the sediment resting on the side. So when you would pour it, you don't get any side of yeast sediment or anything into the beer when you pour. So anyway, let's go ahead and open it up and check it out. I've had this beer many times.
I've had it a lot of times.
Jose has had it many times. Just thought it'd be fun to do a review on it. So, go ahead and pop the cork.
Pop the bottom. Oh, yeah.
This is proving a little difficult to pour this way, but we'll get it. All right. Yep. All right. So, yeah, pours out. Got a pretty nice head. He's got a bit more in his glass. I poured a bit slower in mine, but you can see that the bubbles there are streaming pretty fast. Looks like it's got tons of carbonation. It's got a nice white head. It's not super frothy. It's a bit more, not the word I'm looking for, but it's not as thick. And the carbonation is, the head's receding a little bit, or tends to recede a little bit quicker. But it's got a nice kind of hazy, somewhat hazy, sort of orange, light amber, slightly gold color to it. Well, let's go ahead and check out the aroma. Yeah, so that is very good. So some of the main characters you get out of Geuze, it's going to have very big funky quality to it. So we're talking like horse blanket, kind of maybe like a dank, dusty basement type mold to it, or smell to it. It's very unique, just due to the wild yeasts that are in the beer. I get a lot of lemon.
Yeah, a lot of lemon.
There's a lot of minerality to it.
Almost like a mothball.
Yeah, almost has like a mothball type smell to it, dude. Which it may not sound appealing if you never had the style, but it's very unique, and it was something it's kind of polarizing in a sense. But it grew on me the more I drank this style of beer. But yeah, it's just got this nice kind of bright, lemony, herbal, funky quality to it that's you don't find in hardly any other styles of beer. But anyway, let's check out the taste. Cheers. So very, very much similar to the aroma. A lot of lemon, some orange, a lot of bright citrus. There's a big kind of a type floral, kind of herbaceous like quality to it. Maybe some like hints of dandelion, things like that. And it's very funky. It's got that big kind of horse blanket barnyard type aroma or taste to it, which you'll find out of some wild ales and saisons that you can find here in the States. But it's just a bit more amplified here in this style. What do you think?
Yeah, it's the tartness like hits you right away at the front, and like in the middle of the body, it's kind of sweet, and then you get a lot of that funk towards the end.
Yeah, does have a bit of sweetness from the malt, a lot of acidity, but it feels very balanced in certain senses. Like it kind of comes in and goes. It's definitely going to be more acidic than sweet, and then it finishes very dry. Yeah. Very dry, champagne-like type finish to it and type of body. It's I'd say has kind of a medium, slight full type of body to it, but it finishes so dry and the carbonation is so high that it almost feels thin in a sense, kind of like champagne.
Kind of like delicate.
Yeah, it feels very delicate. But it's got a nice acidity to it, pretty big tartness. I don't think it's too sour. I mean, it's going to be subjective, I guess, depending on what you like out of sour beers or how much acidity you want in beers. But it's not. It has a nice lactic sourness to it. It doesn't have that acetic type sourness, which is that kind of harsh burn that you get in your throat. This is more of a kind of a, you can feel it right here in your cheeks type of acidity to it. It's very clean.
Yeah, this one in particular has it's a real unique taste to their style of Oude Geuze.
Yes.
I don't know. It just whenever you try it, you can always tell who's makes that one.
Yes, it's very interesting with Lambic and Geuze too as well. When you have the main producers out of Belgium and stuff, like there's Cantillon, there's Tilken, there's Lindemans, Boone. You can find Lindemans Oude Geuze actually on the shelf here, and that'll give you a nice insight to what the style is like. So if you want to kind of check out the style, I would definitely say to pick up the Lindemans Cuvée René Oude Geuze.
Or the Hansons.
The Hansons Oude Geuze we get now too. Yeah, and I think we just started seeing Boone as well. I know that Buddy found some at Specs downtown, which is also another good one for the shelf. It's a nice style. I mean, it's something to check out if you've never had it, and if you really like the style, I would say to try to find bottles of this, either trade for it or I have purchased these off of websites. But this is definitely one of the better styles in my opinion as far as Geuze goes, and it's so unique to them. Like if you have a Cantillon Geuze or some of the other Geuze makers, you'll notice how different it is. Yeah. And this one just has that. It has their signature style, or kind of input on it. I find it to be a bit more of this kind of, I don't know, the funkiness I feel like is always so much more intense with Drie Fonteinen.
Cantillon one's more tart, more champagne-y.
Yeah. It has.
It doesn't have that funk like this one.
But for about 2 years old, I think this is drinking very, very well right now, and I would highly recommend it if you want something very tart, very funky, something a bit more unique, especially this beer. But if you never had Geuze, definitely would check out Geuze, especially if you're into sour beers, because it really is a unique style for a sour beer. But that said, I think that's pretty much covers a lot on it. But anyway, think global, drink local, and cheers.